Here's more wrestling news for June 7th, 2021. And your headlines for this afternoon include: Booker T thinks Braun Strowman won't have opponents who can match up in AEW. Former WWE wrestler no-shows multiple bookings and keeps advanced payment. Aleister Black reveals unreleased WWE entrance music. Seth Rollins opening up a new business. WWE tells Performance Center students that life ends after they leave the company. Former WWE champion says she's heartbroken about her current wrestling career. Backstage news on what WWE had planned for Santana Garrett. Kurt Angle claims Stone Cold Steve Austin was scared to face him and Chris Benoit, and more. We're starting this video with Braun Strowman, who was released from WWE last week, and fans continue to speculate on where he'll go next. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T discussed Strowman's future, and despite many fans calling for Braun to join AEW, Booker doesn't think that's a good idea. He explained, "That's the thing, Braun Strowman runs through that whole roster. I really rely on the past in certain ways to fuel what we've got going on today. Just imagine, we may not be talking about Kevin Nash the way we talk about him if he wasn't the bodyguard for Shawn Michaels in the beginning. The way Big Kev was introduced, he wasn't a guy that was just thrown out there to be a star. He was a star and the fans knew it, and they wanted to get behind him because he was big sexy, Big Daddy Cool Diesel. He had some charisma, and the fans gravitated to that. A guy like Braun Strowman, we just threw him out there to become a star, and sometimes it's really difficult when you're put out there under the bright lights to pull it off. Not saying he didn't do a hell of a job, but being introduced the way that he was introduced as the monster among men, he had to be bigger than everybody every single night. To rise to that occasion, man, that's a tough task. There's like 2 matches over there for him. Lance Archer, Brian Cage, Miro. There's 2 or 3 guys that Braun Strowman can face. Mark Henry." In a post-release tweet, Strowman has said that there's plenty of places he still wants to see as a wrestler, and whilst it's highly likely AEW will make him an offer, Strowman won't be all elite if Booker T gets his way. Wherever Strowman goes next, we doubt Justin Credible will be there, as the former ECW star has been scamming promoters out of their money. That's according to Grimm of YouTube's Grimm's Toy Show and GTS Wrestling, who paid Credible in advance to do an appearance for a show, only for the former ECW star to no-show the gig and keep the hundreds of dollars he was paid up front. When Grimm tried to reach out to Credible, he was blocked on all platforms, and judging by the replies to Grimm's tweet, this isn't the first time Credible has scammed people out of their money. Hopefully Grimm can get his money back soon, and in the meantime, he's warning all promoters to keep away from booking Justin Credible for any events. Back to WWE, and after his release last week, Aleister Black told fans that he had a new theme made for him prior to being let go, which fans never got to hear on TV. Fortunately, the former NXT champion had a copy lying around, as during a Twitch stream, Black played that unreleased song, a dark and heavy track that fits his demeanor. Here's a sample of it now, and let us know what you think of it in the comments. Black, who is resorting to his pre-WWE name Tommy End, isn't done in wrestling and is expected to end up in AEW, and though we don't know for sure where the Dutchman will compete next, we know it won't be in WWE. Now outside of WWE, Seth Rollins has a couple of projects on the go, such as his Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, and now the Visionary has another business to his name. Rollins is now adding a new coffee shop to his business empire, which will be located on Utica Ridge in Iowa under the name 392 Cafe. This new store officially opened yesterday and is expected to be in full operation within a week, and is Rollins' second coffee shop he owns. The former Universal Champion partnered with 392 Cafe in 2016 to open a shop in Davenport, Iowa, and with a second store now open, Rollins is clearly having success in the industry. Rollins loves coffee and working out, and the next time you're in Iowa, you can have a cup of Joe endorsed by the architect himself. Now, Kurt Angle is undoubtedly one of the greatest wrestlers ever, capable of having great matches with any opponent. On his show this week, Kurt discussed the July 11, 2001 edition of Raw, which featured a steel cage match between himself and Chris Benoit, which included a German suplex from off the top rope. Calling it the most dangerous spot of the night, as there was a high chance the pair would land on their heads, Angle and Benoit made the top rope German work, but also scared Stone Cold Steve Austin. As Kurt explained, "We were upcoming talent. Austin was out there watching the match. We were trying to impress Austin. I think we went way too far because we actually scared him away. We were trying to show him that we wanted to work with him, and he's like, 'These guys are crazy bastards, I'm not gonna work with them.'" Fortunately, Austin would change his mind, as he'd have an incredible feud with Angle that summer, culminating in Kurt becoming WWE Champion in his hometown of Pittsburgh at Unforgiven, but that emotional title win may have never happened thanks to one German suplex. For many aspiring wrestlers, their dream is to one day make it big in WWE, but just because you're there doesn't mean you're safe. As we've seen in recent months, WWE is never afraid to release talent, which is no doubt bad news for the released superstar, especially after the warning they're given when they first step foot into the company. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said how Vince McMahon calls the shots with hirings and firings, and discussed WWE's hiring process with an interesting piece of information Performance Center trainees are given when they start. He said, "They teach you when you're there, they teach you that your life ends if you leave. A lot of guys have left, especially the ones in AEW have gone, 'My life didn't end and I left.' There's a fear, and that's why a lot of people don't go, especially women." Meltzer added that it's ironic WWE says this to trainees, as there's now more opportunities for women in other companies and on the indies than ever before. We'll have to see who WWE cuts next as they continue to cut their budget, but whoever is released next should know that there is still life in wrestling after WWE. One person who knows about life after WWE is Mickie James, but the former women's champion isn't doing too well right now. A former women's and Divas champion, as well as a former TNA Knockouts champion, James was released this past April after only having 6 matches in WWE in the past 2 years. Speaking to Busted Open Radio this week, James was asked about what's next for her and responded in an emotional way, saying, "I'm so nervous because I don't know what to do. I don't even know how I feel. I'm so heartbroken in a sense, you know? I'm not gonna cry, but I'm a bit heartbroken in the business." Since her release, James has discussed how women are treated much more harshly than men, as WWE didn't want to use the 41-year-old superstar in any capacity, despite pushing older male counterparts like Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena. And we're ending with another recent release, as Santana Garrett was cut last week alongside 5 other superstars. Garrett wasn't used much on WWE TV, but according to PW Insider, there were plans in the works for her. Their report notes that following her performance in this year's Women's Royal Rumble, there were plans for her to be called up soon, and that there were also plans for her to debut on SmackDown. Garrett's situation is similar to Vanessa Bourne, who was reportedly called up, but spent her last days with WWE waiting for her arrival to be worked into storylines. In her first tweet post-release, Garrett teased competing for Shine, and time will tell what happens next after going unused in WWE despite these plans for her. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.